I think the idea is to explore ideas, maybe some things that people don't want to talk about or feel shy to talk about. So here we're just going to speak our minds and explore some topics that are maybe not in the public domain, but with a little bit of debate. Maybe we can enlighten ourselves and maybe our listeners at the same time. Yeah. So today we thought to talk about quite an important topic in Islam: salvation. Who doesn't want to be saved? But according to the Quran, who is saved and who goes to heaven? How do most people, do you think that they'll be saved in the Muslim community?
Why Muslim community only?
Oh, I'm asking because we're addressing the Muslim community. So why, what do you think most Muslims would think how to answer that question? Who is saved? Who goes to heaven?
I think if you generally ask it in public in Muslims, they would probably say that only Muslims,
Yeah,
the people who are in Islam. But then again, what is Islam?
yeah. So there's two definitions, doesn't it? They're probably right, isn't it? That only Muslims go to heaven.
Maybe the
But
ones who are wearing enough
yeah,
beard or
but
trouser up,
yeah,
and women
that's
is
our
going
idea of a
to.
Muslim, isn't it? That someone who has
Uh,
a particular outlook, a particular dress.
Not really. I think that's like a category within Muslims, which is like who is a better and who is a lesser Muslim. But I've seen like people going to bars and be like, Bismillah Rahman Rahim, and taking shots of vodka
Mm.
or tequila, whatever. But yeah, so they have this belief that no matter what, at the end of the day, just because we are Muslim, we said
Mm-hmm.
the Shahada,
Mm-hmm.
we believe in the last prophet and the seal of prophets, we are definitely going. And then, there are so many other people who believe in God, but they go to bars and clubs and whatever,
Mm.
which Islam restricts. So, what's the difference?
No, between those two people, there's no difference, maybe other than just their names. Isn't it? One's called maybe Muhammad or Ahmed, and one called Joe
Charlie?
or Charlie. Really, there's no real difference in. But it's actually a question that all the groups have had different opinions on. So the more extreme, like the Khazarites at the beginning of Islam, they took a very strict approach to it, and they believed that your faith and also your actions both had to match up. And if you were, even if you believed in Allah, if your actions didn't live up to it, then you were kafir. That was it, plain and simple. That's why they rose up against, the early caliphs, Ali, and that because they deemed them not worthy, and they said, well, even the most slight misdemeanor, then you know, can be overtaken or anything like that. So you have very strict um, viewpoints that can also spill into, the more extreme groups that we have today. That it's not about being Muslim; it's about following their particular um, idea or ideology, their particular take on the holy book. And if you don't have that sort of strict ideas, then you'll be deemed a kafir. It doesn't really matter if you believe in Allah. If you're not living up to their high standards, then you're a kafir. But then you have another side of it where it's more open, and there's scholars that have said that at the end of the day it really comes down to belief. And some say that even a Muslim could spend some time in hell, but they're the ones that won't spend all the time in hell, that they will be come out eventually. It's only the sort of non-Muslims who stay in hell forever.
No, we have that
So I have that also idea also. So it's actually something that Muslims have tried to tackle in different ways. And I suppose the idea is, well, what kind of baseline can we say that we can say for sure by looking at the Quran? Well, what is it that the Quran tries to tell us as a criteria for the true religion?
You know what my problem is? It's not like people know the answer. I think people know the answer. If I live in a community, I can tell I'm not living with any community. My personal experience is our kids are actually getting very suffocated by knowing only this is right, rest is all wrong. And that actually makes me say, this is not Islam, but then it's a shame within the community if your child will hang out with any person who is not from the particular region.
So what's that? So in relation to
But
who
I
is
think because
saved
they
and
actually
who
put
goes
it
to
next to they actually put it next to the religion. It's like we are saving you to go in
so
hell
again, it
kind of
goes
thing
back to that sort of remark
idea.
that Hamza was saying that we are the Muslims. We are okay. We're going to heaven. I'm not too sure about that guy. He doesn't say he's Muslim, so he's about he might go to hell.
I read a very interesting thing. You have experience with that. We will celebrate convert,
Mm-hmm.
but we will not embrace convert. What is that?
It depends, doesn't it? I think if you have maybe more cultural Muslims, then the idea of Islam is tied with, unfortunately, with ethnicity.
Mm-hmm. That's
We're
what
so
I'm
used to
exactly.
seeing Muslims of a particular hue of colour, of skin,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes quite difficult to think of Islam in a different way. But again, going back to the original point, who is it to say?
No, I'm just saying it's like I'm not interested in like things where people are talking about, for example, it's like who is right, who's wrong, or yeah, this person. We are seeing from very childhood, who's going in hell, who's going in heaven.
So according to what you were brought up with, who's saved?
Or only Muslims, don't worry.
But
The
who
one
is
who's
okay? So
reciting, Kalma, Prophet
okay,
Sallallahu, that's all.
and doing good things as well, or is that secondary?
I think that comes in secondary, but first is always Tawheed, and then
Tawheed is like the basic criteria. So
yeah.
it's like any
Tawheed
Muslim
as in
who,
the oneness of Allah.
yeah, no associations. But like, as so, what we have learned, and I believe so as well, that if you end up in your whole lifetime figuring out who is Allah, and you believe that there is only one God, and you worship Him, like you accept, acknowledge that He exists, and everything is just because of Him, then no matter whatever sins that you have done or whatever life that you have spent, after you have gone through the punishment for the things that you have done, eventually we're talking maybe like billions of years that are unimaginable to any human being, then eventually you will be taken out just because you made the bare minimum of the test, that you figured out that there is only one God. And I personally feel like this is like the very very low level Muslim, but I personally feel like one of the most important, which makes you at least step into Jannah, is the part of this
Believing
whole
in
life.
oneness
Yeah,
of
just
Allah.
to figure out that
Mhm.
you've been created by someone who's only one. Surah Ikhlas, basically.
So is this saying, going back to the initial idea I mean, that we could say is that people who are in hell forever are those who never acknowledged Allah ever in their life?
Or they did shirk, let's say.
Yeah.
Or
And
they
then, so is that why Allah says in the Quran that the one sin, the one deed that is not ever
acceptable.
forgiven is
Yeah.
shirk, is associating partners in His authority.
And another category I think that could be is those who know that there is a God.
Mm-hmm.
And now this is a maybe technical matter for sheikhs, but in my opinion, like those could be that, let's say, those who know. I know people like that. I'm not judging them. It's not their end, but it's a interesting case to look at as well. Those who like know that there is a God, and then they're like, I don't care. Whatever will happen. I have a friend. She said something super interesting the other day. She doesn't believe in God. She's like, even if there is, I just don't care. And then one of my friends who was standing there was like, something came up and hell came up.
Mm.
And she was like, I don't mind going to hell. And my friend looked at me and I looked at him. I was like, I'm not going to say anything to her. That's her belief. I respect whatever she thinks. But so there is this sort of ideas like, okay, where people also like, so this is our belief. Let's say what we're talking right now is also like our belief. it doesn't have to be the correct or absolute one as well.
Mm.
That's my opinion.
No, people can
Yeah, so
say
like
anything,
people can have
whatever
their own
they can
views.
correct us, and they
Yeah,
can actually put their any comments down.
yeah. So that's just one of the opinions that exist. So maybe people share the same opinion as us, but
I would say that, yeah, I think that Islam is the only religion, as it says, accepted by God, but then comes down to definitions. What is Islam? Looking at the root of it, it comes from Arabic for submission, and the context of religion is submission to God. So it's always been there, and it has always, as all the prophets, they preached the same religion, and we could argue that there was always sages, saints, prophets, messengers in different areas of the world and times that had the same message. And the idea is always to acknowledge the oneness of God. Why? Due to the dependency of other things, dependency on money, on status, on family. So that's at the core of all true religion, and then also doing good deeds. But at the core is the believing in one God. And we are told in the Quran to just try and be with those who are similar to us. Trying to gravitate towards those who, are also believers in God, Allah, the divine, whatever you want to call it. That is our main association with Allah. I think in terms of deeds, idea in Islam, I think, is obviously do good deeds, and the best deeds, I think, is beyond worship, is actually helping people in any way, whether it's helping the homeless, helping people who are in difficult situations, even helping general day-to-day things. Because it's about how it's broken down almost in the Quran about verse 62 of chapter 2 that says, the people who believe in the Quran, the Jews, the Christians, the Sabians, that anyone who believes in or does three things, so believes in God and does good things and believes in the Day of Judgment, they are the ones who are saved. So that's the sort of like the most basic fundamental criteria in the Quran. But it has three stages almost. There's Allah, there's doing good things, and then there's belief in the Day of Judgment. So almost the first one, it's the most important, is Allah, as a believing in Him. The second is doing good things, which you could say is doing good things to other people. And then the last thing is Day of Judgment, which is about your own accountability, as in looking at yourself. These are the three things that are in all religion. And we could say that having these three components makes someone a Muslim.
I want to ask one question. How about وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ.
That's like another thing, but I think in terms of the definition of, because this one specifically in terms of who is saved, it kind of breaks it down into three essential ingredients. Surah Asr is very good at, Surah Asr, it talks about being saved, but it actually directs us to something else. So putting being saved from aside, I think Surah Asr, the chapter based on time or the flowing of time, it draws us our attention. It's one of those verses that tries to direct our priorities to where they should be, in contrast to where they mostly are. So it's saying that that mankind is lost except for those who have belief in God, do good deeds, and join each other to truth and join each other to patience. And the reason why I say that is it doesn't really matter what community you are in. Let's face it, most of us feel that we're in loss if we haven't made money that day, right? If we haven't made money, if we haven't, reached that particular material goal, if we haven't, hit that target in work, then we feel at a loss. But what the Quran is saying is trying to show us, look, it's that's the I think the purpose of that chapter is saying, look, these are not the things that are important. Truly, ones who are at loss, and Allah's side are da 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 da. So going back to what we're saying about people going to who we who goes to heaven, basically. First of all, you should never judge. And specifically, it does say in the Quran not to consider oneself pure, i.e., don't consider yourself pure and those who are different from you as impure or impure and not going to heaven. Okay, it's not your job to judge. First of all, and that goes for anyone. It doesn't matter what you see them doing. It doesn't matter what you hear them saying. You can never judge. And it's not your job to judge because you yourself will be judged. But if you want to see what the Quran can help us in terms of how what to look for in terms of how you can be saved, then I think the verse 62 of chapter 2 is very helpful. And as I was saying, it doesn't really matter what religious community you say that you belong to. What it really breaks down is belief in Allah, like you were saying, trying to do good deeds and believing in your own accountability, because that is why you would do good things. Otherwise, if you didn't have accountability at the end, then doing good deeds becomes a bit redundant. In terms of the good deeds, I think it comes down to either going and being saved or not being saved. I'm not too sure. I could be wrong, but I think it comes down to more being saved or not being saved. And it comes down to not about having never done bad deeds, because it says about, or gives the impression in the Quran of scales. So whose scales are heaviest goes to heaven or is saved, and whose scales are light are maybe in a bit of trouble. But the way to look at it is not necessarily about the number of deeds that you do.
Is
Because
quality
you can do
over
is
quantity?
the quality. You can
But
do
it's so,
some, but the quality of those is so high that they will
but
bring
it could
down your
only be
scales
one that.
compared to all of those small things that you probably did on a daily basis. But those things were gems that they actually made your scale and good so heavy that even the small things that you did that were maybe wrong, because they were so small, there might be many, but they still don't weigh as much as
It could be
those
just one
gems.
deed that made Allah so
Maybe.
happy.
Yeah. So that's why again we can't judge, because we can never see the full span of someone's life, capture that one moment that would save them.
Mhm.
But I think that is what comes down to good deeds, is trying to do genuinely as much as you can to make your scale heavy when it comes to your own.
But yeah, at the end of the day, you never know which one is that.
You don't know
yeah,
yourself
so
for your own one,
yeah.
let alone somebody else's.
Oh yeah, so if you can't even talk about yourself, how can you talk about anyone else? But I'll throw a
Curveball.
curveball. So there's an idea that only Muslims will go to heaven. Yet you're allowed to marry a Jew or a Christian. So in this derivation, is it true that you're allowed to marry her, but she's going to hell? Or yeah,
That's what I was saying, that in terms of what I was.
She's going to hell.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm decided.
I'm gonna marry her to send her to hell. Or maybe I'm gonna make her life hell because I know she's going to astaghfirullah. Like shit.
No, I think that's what we were saying before, like about why the verse is so useful. It's saying that, okay, she may be considered any people of the book. It doesn't matter if it's Jew, Christian, Zoroastrian, Sabian, whatever. But if she believes in God and does good things, then according to the Quran, then she's also under that umbrella of people who are favoured by Allah. Because Islam didn't just come with the Prophet Muhammad, there was always Islam there. There was always Muslims there. Ibrahim was called a Muslim. So, this is the definition of Islam, is submission to
There's a
Allah.
very interesting thing. Muslims, they believe that all prophets were Muslim. But they believe that everyone else has gone wrong, which I agree to a lot of extent, that okay, the books were corrupted, they added so much shirk, they started worshipping idols and like associating partners with Allah, made prophets God or the children of God.
But these are just generalizations, though, aren't they? Because like in Christianity itself, there's so many different ideas and sects and organizations and so many different churches. And it's the same for every single religion. Islam as well.
There's a lot of shirk in Islam,
oh
like
my
the Muslims.
God.
Yeah.
Like,
Which is a good
I don't
point,
want to
actually, as
say
well.
I don't want to say a word, but it's like we know some particular groups how many they have their imams, and they will actually literally they will lick their hands and feet, and they will just think that person going to give us something,
Yeah, yeah.
that
People go to
feeling.
graves
If
like
if
Exactly,
you
ask
yeah,
think,
dead people.
exactly, and that is
yeah,
so dangerous in
if you
my
are putting
eyes.
your hope of salvation in a person,
No, too much
this is
beyond.
what we call now
Shirk.
shirk, association partner, because only Allah can save you.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter, Muslims can say, oh, but Christians do it with Jesus, but then if a Muslim does it with their holding on to their attachment to whatever they want to call it, pure, sheikh, mullah, whatever they want to call it, that's also a form of shirk, or maybe
It's
an imam or whatever it
next level
is.
shirk.
Could be, yeah.
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 Yeah, we are very
So,
cool. I like
like,
it.
like these
I
things.
don't like it, but I mean, like, the level is you have to see.
That's a next level hypocrisy as well when you have shirk in your own.
But they don't call it shirk.
Yeah, but like it's next level, no, like hypocrisy that you're unable to, like, you turn a blind eye on your own deeds
Mm.
and you become a judge for everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're saying, you shouldn't judge anyone. You can't see yourself as pure. So therefore, who are
Okay,
you to say
why
that?
do we have those all? I'm not asking to like literally making everyone angry at us, but I think why do we have all those mullahs? Like, I really don't agree with that thing. It's like we have a lot power in the hands of those mullahs who can actually give us fatwa.
Yeah, keep going.
That well, like, it's like there is someone, or he has that particular degree, and he's a mufti, and he can actually give fatwa about anyone that is acceptable. And if that man, why does he have so much power? It's like, who had that power before? I just want to go back in history and find out, like, why.
That's a big topic. I think it just goes down to again of putting our hopes into a person. It's a human need to. It's easier to attach to something that you can see, um, and then also it's easier to think, well, this person knows all the answers, so I'll just go to him. It means I don't have to look. That person's done it. But then it's trusting too much in a human being, and maybe doesn't take enough responsibility on ourselves to find the answers, which is maybe a topic for another discussion.
But I would love to bring their fatwas, and some are so.
Yes.
I would like people to put some fatwas down there where they feel it is a tactic to control, or using religion to
That's definitely a topic for another time.
suffocating someone's space. I think we can do the second. We can just do it.
Okay, until next time.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very
And
much.
please write comment any topic you want to discuss.
And if
We
you
would
do
like
want us to just take up another topic another time, we'll look at it. And any good topic suggestions, we'll definitely look into and do our best to cover. Until next time.
Take care.
Sounds good. That they said, oh, it's 6 days. That is not.
What's it written in Quran?
It doesn't say 6 days.
It doesn't say in Quran?
No. Yom in Arabic can mean day. It can mean a week. It can mean anything. Why? Because it can mean a day or it can mean a period of time. So it's not 6 days, but what it really should be saying is 6 phases of time. That's
So you're saying it's 4.5 billion years?
It's a phase of time, isn't it?
It is,
Yeah.
but
So it's 6 phases.
so is time relative?
It's not time. It's not about relative. It's not about science. It's about language. Yom is the same in Arabic and Hebrew. It can mean day or it can mean period of time. So what I'm saying is that day, if you're taking about it as a 24-hour period, is not what the Quran is referring to. It's referring to the other meaning of Yom, as in period of time.
So why 6?
Numbers are used different ways. Numbers can mean things in different languages. Sometimes 6, sometimes 7 means like many. It's like we say in English several. It kind of comes from like 7, but several just means many. It doesn't literally mean 6 or 7, it can just mean many. So that can happen sometimes in different languages. That words are used. It's like, so many hadith, 40,000 this, 40,000 that. It doesn't literally mean that, it just means that these are numbers that for Arabs meant, wow, that's a long period of time. Like, that's a lot. That's like a kind of generic number that they use to mean a lot or many. So it's the same in the Quran. It says 6. Maybe there's something where with the evolution of from the start of the universe to now, there was like 6 things that were quite separate from each other. It could be. Or it could be that 6 again was used in Arabic for like many, or like several.
So there's no absolute.
Oh, absolute, yeah. But again, I knew you were going with Yom, and unfortunately the Jews and Christians made the same mistake, especially when the Christians were translating from Hebrew into like European languages like Greek and Latin. They came across this problem and they didn't understand or appreciate Yom in Hebrew can mean different things. And we shouldn't make the same mistake in Arabic, meaning that Yom can mean day, or it can mean any unspecified period of time, like an epoch or an era or anything like that.
I just want to add one question for my personal clarity. Yom al Qiyamah.
So yeah, so again, some Muslims believe that it's not a day, it's actually a full event that takes years and years and years. So that's actually a view that's came across in quite a few scholars or a few professors that have looked at it and said that Yom again. I mean, I don't think we believe that the Day of Judgment is literally going to be
One day.
Yeah. So again, it comes back to what I was saying. It's not a day. It's a
Proofs.
period of time. A period of time where the judgment or accountability of all the human beings takes place.
And we don't know how long that
Don't know how
period
long.
will be.
Again, it could be in the Hadith literature that whether you like it or not, but again they talk about 10,000 or 5,000. Again, these are not perhaps specific numbers in terms of that's actually how long it's going to take. It just means that it's going to take
Long.
a long time. It's not a day, it's a process.